Hey there, Scott Allen Moffat, the actor's dialect coach here, with a tutorial on the French accent of English. While many actors can do a simple impression of a French accent that borders on parody, it's a notoriously difficult one for the American actor to pull off authentically. This simple instructional video is meant to serve as a starter guide in your exploration of the French accent. Before we jump in, there are some finer points to discuss about the accent presented in this tutorial. It can be incredibly challenging for English speakers to pick up on the subtle nuances between different dialects of a language they don't speak, just like non native English speakers may struggle to differentiate between accents of English. For that reason, we'll be attempting to capture a broad version of the French accent without any hint of regionalism. And it probably goes without saying, but we'll be focusing on the sounds of France, as opposed to any other French speaking countries, though they may share many features due to their common language. Anytime you explore an English as a second language accent, you must consider your character's proficiency with the English language. Has your character spoken English for many years, or only learned it recently? Did they learn it in childhood, or as an adult? Do they speak it every day, or infrequently? Decisions like these will affect the accent choices you make, just like it does for real world speakers. And these will indeed be choices that you make. In reality, speakers of ESL accents like French are often inconsistent when they speak English. They may speak a word a certain way in one moment and pronounce it differently the next. This comes from the fact that many features of an ESL accent are arguably unintentional mispronunciations. But while this inconsistency is common in real life, as actors, we must endeavor to make consistent accent choices so that our performances are repeatable. Now, let's get into some of the most common sound shifts you'll want to try when attempting a French accent, beginning with vowels. For our first vowel shift into the French accent, the short I, as in the word kit, might move towards a long I, as in tree, making the word kit now sound like keet. I'll demonstrate it on an example sentence and give you a moment to repeat it. If you need more time, just pause the video. Our sentence is bring in 6 images of the big ship, which may sound like bring in 6 images of the big ship. A quick tip, this change is really simple to note on your script. Just replace every short I sound with a double E. For our next vowel shift, the open back vowel ah, as in lot, may experience a bit more lip rounding, producing something closer to oh, lot. Our example sentence is I thought of calling Sean this fall, which in the French accent might sound more like I thought of calling Sean this fall. A quick tip for rounding your lips on this sound, make a kissy face as you do the sound. Ah, oh. It might feel like this is a very British sound at first, and that's okay. Just trust that when we add the additional features of this accent, it will be distinct from British. Our next vowel shift deals with the short U, or as in words like foot, which might move towards a long U, oo, that we hear in words like goose, meaning the word foot might now sound like foot. On the example sentence, the cook put away the book after he took a look, it might sound more like the cook put away the book after he took a look. Another quick tip, focus on rounding your lips once again over this sound while simultaneously raising the back of your tongue ever so slightly from to ooh. Our next vowel shift is going to feel foreign to many Americans because it's a sound we don't use naturally. We're going to take our long U sound, oo as in goose, and we're going to move the tongue forward along the roof of the mouth while keeping it rounded. So we go from oo to ee, ee. The sound can feel very Nordic almost, or French if you ever have spoken French. So a word like goose might move towards goose. The example sentence, Stu put the blue shoe on Cooper the goose, might sound more like Stu put the blue shoe on Cooper the goose. Another way you can find this same sound is to take the long E sound, E, which is a high front vowel for the tongue, and simply round your lips over it. E, E. For our next two vowel shifts, we're going to be taking what for Americans are two-part vowels, A and O, and we're going to cut them in half, making them punchier, more pure one-part vowels. So the vowel sound A, as in face, might move towards E, as in face. The vowel sound O, as in goat, might move towards O, as in goat. Let's try these on individual practice sentences. As a favor, my favorite flavor was placed on my plate may sound like as a favor, my favorite flavor was placed on my plate. For the O sound, it's only a stone's throw to Rio may sound like it's only a stone's throw to Rio. A little tip for finding these sounds if it's difficult for you, first try singing the vowel sound, oh, and then cut it off halfway through. Oh, oh, a, a, a. For our last vowel shift that we're going to talk about today, the vowel sound as in words like strut or above, may change based on the spelling of the word, or in other words, how the French speaker may perceive the word when they're reading it. And that's because English is a very unreliable system of spelling. So, for instance, the word strut may be read as strut by the French speaker who's unfamiliar with the word, or the word above could be above if they really honor the O. For our example sentence, my brother stumbled into a clump of shrubs above us, there's a number of ways we could try this, but one example might be my brother stumbled into a clump of shrubs above us. Something to keep in mind, this sound does not need to change. You should pick and choose where you're going to use it carefully in your performance because doing too much of this sound shift may feel a little bit inauthentic. Plus, the audience may not be able to fully understand you. Let's start talking about the consonants of the French accent. There's a lot to be said for what might happen on R sounds, and there's a variety of different things that we may hear. But the two big things I like my American actors to focus on are first what we call the uvular trill. Rrr. That's where the appendage at the back of your mouth might trill rapidly or tap rapidly to produce an R like sound. Rrr. Red roses. If that's difficult for you, like it is for many Americans, try bunching your normal R sound or retracting it just a little bit. So instead of ra, you might get ra, ra, and feel that retraction in the mouth. We'll try the example sentence both ways, which is the enriched, rich red rose grew rotten. First with a uvular trill, the enriched, rich red rose grew rotten. Now with a bunched R, the enriched, rich red rose grew rotten. In reality, many French speakers, when learning English, may have mastered the American R, so you may not hear much of a change. Plus, in final or post vocalic R sounds, where it's at the end of a word or after a vowel within a syllable, they may drop those R sounds altogether, such as words like mother or father, becoming mazer or fazer. And that's because of the potential British influence on French over the American influence on French speakers, but it very much may depend on your character and where they learned English. Our next consonant shift is my favorite in the French accent and arguably the easiest to do. We're simply going to drop every initial H sound, or an H that begins the word. So, for instance, a word like happy might now be happy. Our example sentence, the happy hippo held his head high, might now sound like the happy hippo el disait die. I love this sound change too because of the way it contributes to the melody of the French accent, with everything smushing together just a little bit. And we'll talk more about that later. For our next consonant shift, let's talk about the TH sound. which for the French speaker may shift towards an S or a Z sound. So, on our example sentence, give those things to them or they will go without, it may sound more like, give those things to them or they will go without. Now, the TH could also shift towards a T or a D sound, and it would sound more like, give those things to them or they will go without. Whichever choice you make, S's and Z's or T's and D's, in reality, you might want to do a combination of all of those sounds, just like you would hear from a real world French speaker. For our final major consonant shift, we're going to talk about the CH and the J sounds, or ch and j. Both are going to soften just a little bit. Our CH sound, ch, might move towards an SH sound, sh. So a word like chip might now sound like sheep, while a hard J sound, j, may soften to more of a ZH sound, j. So a word like gem may sound more like gem. Let's try it on the example sentence, Jerry chopped the cheap sandwich for the judge and jury, which may now sound like, Jerry chopped the cheap sandwich for the judge and jury. That soft J sound, the je, is the same one found in the French language oh so often, as in phrases like je t'aime, je m'appelle, je ne sais quoi. When considering the musicality of a French accent, it tends to feel much more fluid or connected than English is, with little to no separation of sound between the words. Therefore, when speaking English, the native French speaker may squeeze their words together in a much more melodic manner. You can practice this melody by saying the following phrase as if it were all one word on a single breath. So we would say, all Americans eat every ounce of avocado. The French speaker may pronounce it more like, all Americans eat every ounce of avocado. Notice it feels like one long phrase as opposed to disconnected words. Finally, in terms of the musculature of the mouth, I find that there is a greater tension and roundedness on the lips for French speakers compared to American English speakers. Holding the lips in a sort of pursed tight position can aid in finding some of the rounded and more fronted vowel sounds of the accent. Much of English is derived from French, and because of this, when speaking English, the primary French speaker may occasionally revert to the French pronunciation of a word. This may happen on obvious words such as croissant, which might become croissant, but also with less obvious words like nation, admirable, and information, which may sound more like nation, admirable, and information. The likelihood of this occurring with your character may directly correlate to their proficiency with the English language. The better they are at English, the less likely this feature is to occur. When in doubt, research the French pronunciation of every word in your script that you may suspect has a French origin and try it out. It's unlikely you'll use them all, but adding a few here and there in your performance may help with the accent. Now that you understand the basics of the accent, listen along as I demonstrate by speaking a portion of Shakespeare's Hamlet in the French accent. Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it as many of your players do, I had as lief the tongue higher spoke my lines. Nor do not sow the air too much with your hand thus, but use all gently, for in the very torrent, tempest, and, as I may say, whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Be not too tame neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action, with the special observance that you overstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so or done is from the purpose of playing, whose end, both at the first and now, was and is to hold, as 'twere, the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her feature, scorn her own image, and the very edge and body of the time is form and pressure. French is one of the most difficult accents for English speaking actors to perform naturally without going over the top. That said, don't be afraid of using an extreme, almost caricature version of the accent to begin with. Practice all of the sound shifts on your own text. Then, imagine the thickness of the accent exists on a dial from 1 to 10. What happens if you turn that dial down a little bit, and then a little bit more? As in life, you'll encounter characters who exist at every point on the dial. There is no right or wrong in regards to pronunciation when performing ESL accents, only how many features may sneak through to the English pronunciation. When in doubt, opt for simple choices that suggest the French accent without going over the top. I provided some links to example speakers below. Be sure to give some a listen to hear the accent demonstrated properly. Thanks for watching.